Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Kennedy Paron, and I will be your professor for child and adolescent development. I'm very excited to be on this journey with you, and I hope that you have a wonderful semester. So without further ado, Chapter 1, Section 1, History, Theories, and Methods. I just wanted to take a moment to welcome you to class. I'm very honored to have the opportunity to play a small role in God's journey for your education plan here at Myrtle Beach College. You are here for a reason, and I honestly believe that. And you are all in my prayers for a peaceful and joyful semester. So what is child development? First, we'll define a child. A child is a human being that is on its developmental journey to puberty. This starts in infancy. So what is infancy? This is the first 2 years of a child's life. It is also Latin for one who is not yet speaking. Finally, child development. This is how a child changes both physically, psychologically, and then has the adaptive traits as they change as a child progresses towards puberty. So there are many different types of development. There's physical, biological, social, cognitive, emotional, and behavioral. There's a difference between growth and development. So first, we'll talk about growth. Growth expresses a change in size physically of a child. This could be the height or the weight or the shoe size, for example. Whereas the development refers to the quality of skills that they gain as they grow. So maybe they're able to tie their shoes. Maybe they're able to look both ways and walk across the street. Think of this as quality versus quantity. So the quantity is the growth or the number. So anything you can quantify has a number attached. So maybe they're 50 inches tall, whereas quality is the skills they're able to do. Maybe they're able to add 2 plus 2. So language development. So as a child grows, they gain language sophistication and develop their language abilities. So their vocabulary will expand and their word choice will also get bigger, maybe more complex, varying in different words in nature. So the child will also continue to learn words and their meanings and will use different kinds of words. So there are many professionals that study child development, but we have one goal. So a few of these might include educators, psychologists, professors, anthropologists, doctors, nurses, and researchers, to name a few. We all work very hard to serve the pediatric population, which is the child population, and learn about the development together in order to best serve the smallest humans and make sure that they have the brightest futures. So why do we research child development, you might ask? There are a lot of different reasons. Many are curious, so curiosity is what drives them to study this. It's very fun to work with children, so a lot of people have fun with this and want to study this because of fun. Many have the desire to answer questions that do not have answers yet. Many want to gain insight into the nature of human nature because, as we know, our behaviors start as children and progress till we're adults. This also leads me to the next point of gaining insight on our origins. So the beginning of adult behavior actually starts in childhood, and we can get a good idea of how the adult will be when we see them and look back into their childhood. A lot of people also want to gain insight on sex differences and gender roles, into the effects of heredity and cultural development, and to gain insight on the origins and prevention and treatment of developmental problems. So if we can catch them early, we can have a lot of early intervention as well. Finally, some want to optimize the conditions of development by studying and researching child development. So what were the views throughout history of children, you might wonder? So during the Middle Ages, children were treated very poorly. They were actually seen as innately evil, which is different from today. thank goodness. This has caused discipline to be very harsh in nature for children back then. Children were actually seen as no more than servants and actual property of their parents. This led to being married off without their consent or sometimes even their knowledge. Very, very young. Another option of parents was to make them become a priest or a monk or a nun. Children were often nurtured until they were the age of 7, which was the age of enlightenment, in which case they were seen as mini adults. Many would eat like adults, drink alcohol like adults, smoke like adults, take on large tasks and jobs like adults, and would even many times work alongside adults in many settings, including on farms and agricultural settings. So more was expected of these mini adults, but unfortunately, they were not granted the privileges or respect that many adults enjoy today. So now we're going to talk about a few philosophers that impacted the field of child development. First, we'll start with John Locke. He was an Englishman who believed that children came into the world as tabula rasa, which means blank slate. This was meaning that all their experiences formed them and wrote on them like a tablet. They were new until they came into the world and experienced life. He did not believe in predisposition towards good or evil. He focused on the role the environment played on the child, not the child played on the environment, on the child's development. So then we're going to talk about Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He was a Swiss and Frenchman who believed that children are good by nature, and if given the opportunity, they would show good morals and good qualities as well. So this was very different from John Locke, who thought that they were not predisposed to anything. Next, we're going to cover child labor. So in the 20th century, laws were actually passed in order to protect children from strenuous labor positions. This was great because it kept children safe. This would also require them to attend school till a certain age, and also would ban underage marriage. So this was good for children as well. Children were also protected from abusive parents and caregivers, which was much different than being seen as property or servants. Children were also now held accountable and culpable for their crimes through the judicial system, juvenile system. So pioneers in development for children, we're first going to talk about Charles Darwin. He was an Englishman who was a creator of the theory of evolution you might have heard of. He also kept a baby biography on his own son that served as a great resource in infant behavior later. Next, we're going to talk about G. Stanley Hall. He was an American man who created an academic study of child development. So because of G. Stanley Hall, I'm sitting here today lecturing on child development with everybody. He came up with questionnaires to get ideas of how children actually think. So if you like this class, thank G. Stanley Hall, because that's why we're here. Also, Alfred Binet and Theodore Simon were Frenchmen who worked together to create the first standardized intelligence test. So the purpose of this was to serve the public school system and allow for those who are at risk of falling behind to be found right away and get the advocacy that they deserved, and hopefully be able to catch up with the resources given. And that concludes Chapter 1, Section 1. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next section. Have a great day.